Hello friends, and welcome back to r/ProRevenge. Let's start our video with the story of the world's biggest loser who tried to steal a car. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. Car thief gets caught in the act. A week or two ago, someone, let's call him Joe, caught someone, thief, breaking into his car. Thief got so startled that when they took off, they left their belongings there, including their phone, which had no security on it. Well, because everything goes through your phone now, Joe was able to take over Thief's Facebook account and put them on blast. Joe's been posting all the screenshots of messages he finds incriminating Thief in a series of crimes. Joe's posts have helped link Thief to storage unit break-ins, car thefts, catalytic converter theft, home break-ins, including using obituaries to steal from recently deceased people, shoplifting, and worse. Videos of her breaking into storage units, messages about selling stolen property and illegal substances. There's even screenshots of search history, including how to hotwire a car, easiest car to steal, etc. The car thief's been arrested and is behind bars. This is what "I'll do it my damn self" looks like in real life. And our next story. You say I'm a bad employee? Would be a bad thing to disappoint you, right? When I was just out of my first year of college during the summer, I was working at a local fast food. Almost everyone that was working there was getting along with everyone else that almost was named Nancy. Nancy felt she was better than everyone and untouchable because the manager running the restaurant was actually her sister. Not only was she able to bully and harass everyone how she pleased, no escalation would ever have any repercussion. Because it was either her or her sister doing the schedules, she would usually never be scheduled for any weekend. If someone dared to talk back to her or give her attitude because of her snarky comments or various behaviors, she would inevitably set you to work on the weekend for both Friday night, Saturday night, essentially knowing you were stuck at work until 11:30 or 12. Meanwhile, all your friends were already partying and having fun. Another thing that was highly frustrating was her break habits. If you were both in the kitchen and a dozen people would come in at once, she would rush out the back and go for a smoke break, leaving you alone to handle all that by yourself. Lastly, she was abusive, not just verbally, but also physically. She would purposely work in a way that could potentially hurt you and blame you if you would ever get hurt by her actions. For example, at one point I was picking up fries from the fries container, and then during that time, the timer on one of the fryers rang to let us know the next batch of fries was ready. She took the fry basket and just dumped everything on my arms while I was still finishing the fry order I had in my hands. Obviously, I had burns on my hands and arms by the fries and oil. I actually ended up having scars on my arm from that for about 5 to 7 years before they actually faded and disappeared. What was her reason for that? Hurry, you're being too slow. Fast forward another month, and here we are in the main scenario. Friday. We'd been super busy, way more than usual, and I had to keep one extra person with me in the kitchen, Nathan. I wasn't technically a team leader or supervisor for the kitchen, but I had all the same authority, which included being able to make the call if we required staff to come in or remain extra hours in case of more customers than usual. Anyway, overall, that was a rough night for everyone. We closed the restaurant and the cashier finished her side, and we all went home after a really long night of work. Now on to the big day, Saturday. I come in, as usual, around 12:50 for my 1 o'clock shift, and the first thing I get is an angry Nancy up in my face going on about how I dared to keep one extra person last night since it wasn't that busy. Somehow that one really got to me, but I still kept my composure, but inside I was boiling. I went around the kitchen to say hello to everyone like I always did, then up front to say hi to the cashiers, and then I see my friend Kristen crying. Kristen was the cashier that closed the night before. While me and Nathan handled the kitchen, she was handling the front. She explained to me what had just happened. Before talking to me, Nancy had told her that her cash didn't balance and that she was a thief and all the money difference would be taken out of her paycheck and that she was in big trouble because she'd be reported to the manager for her behavior and get fired. I knew Kristen well, and she was one of my good friends. And I knew this wasn't her, but this overall situation made me snap. Usually, I'm a pretty composed guy most of the time, and I can take abuse and still remain calm. But I had one rule. Don't ever mess with my close friends. I tell her that everything will be okay, and that I had an idea. I gathered all the cashiers and the cooks. Nancy'd already left by that time, and I explained my plan. I decided that night was my last night, but since I was still technically team leader, sort of, they should still listen to me. After I told them what I had in mind, they all gladly obliged on all my demands. I could tell the kitchen staff how much to prepare, or in this case, how much not to prepare. Nancy had just berated me and said how much of a bad employee I was, and boy, was I about to prove her right. The plan. I told all the staff of the kitchen to only prep the bare minimum to survive so that no overstock would be left for the next day, at the exception of the breakfast. Since Nancy did most of the breakfast, I wanted her to have plenty of overstock for her next shift on the next day because she hated to do prep and would never prep for the evening shift if she worked mornings. Now, since I was also such a bad employee for keeping people for periods when it's not busy, I told both Nathan and Matt that they could stay with me until closing if they wanted to, unless they had anything better planned. Both of them said yes, and that for some reason, they didn't think they had anything planned anymore that night. To give you an idea of how much stock was missing in the cooler, normally you could barely fit 2 people tightly squeezed in there. In this case, however, you could walk in there arms wide open and turn around. Everything went as normal for the remainder of the night, which, funny enough, was super quiet, maybe like 3 or 4 orders. When everything was done and time to go home, I took my apron and work clothing, folded them, and placed them in my unlocked mini locker with my cap on top, with a note that I intentionally had sticking out. Sunday. The next day, I had decided to go see the girlfriend I had at the time, and we went around town and relaxed, but when it was about 12:55, I told her I had a call to make. Thing is, I was normally scheduled to work that day from 1 o'clock till closing, but knew that day Nancy was supposed to work with me until 3 p.m., and I knew damn well she would never do any prep knowing I'd be coming in that day, and that she was likely anticipating all the work I would have been forced to do, while still having to juggle doing prep and orders while she'd go out smoking. I called the restaurant and Gwen picks up, another older woman who worked there, but that one was usually really sweet with everyone, but who worked most mornings with Nancy, and on that day, but was finishing at 1 o'clock. The call went along like this. Me. Hey Gwen, how you doing? Gwen. Doing pretty well, but where are you? Usually you're already here by this time. I was starting to get worried something might have happened to you. Me. Oh no worries Gwen. I'm all fine, but hey, listen. I wanted to let you know I won't be coming in for work today. Gwen. Oh? What do you mean? What's going on? Me. I'm quitting. Gwen. What? You can't do that 5 minutes before your shift. There's no prep of anything. Why would you ever do something like this? Me. Just ask Nancy. She knows why. Also, tell her to look in my locker because I left a note in there for her. Sorry, I gotta go now. Bye. I then hung up and continued my day as if nothing happened and enjoyed my Sunday afternoon. The fallout. The people working there gave me some of the nice juicy details about what happened. Apparently, Gwen confronted Nancy about this and immediately called the owner directly, informing her of the situation that just happened. Nancy's sister's boss, Stacy, the owner, got there in less than 20 minutes after I got told I'd missed the spectacle of the century, apparently. Stacy had said that Nancy will be covering my shift and also do all the prep associated with it until close, and that the prep had to be finished before she could leave, and that they'd talk again about this very soon. This changed Nancy's shift from a 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. into a 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. shift, effectively changing this into a 15-hour day of work plus closing time. Also, Stacy had ordered that smoke breaks were completely out of the question at this point. Apparently, Nancy went pale on hearing this, and as soon as Stacy left, she went into the walk-in freezer to cry for a good 5 minutes before coming out and looking even worse than before because of the cold. Someone had to be called to come in and work and assist for the remainder of the day as well, but essentially there was a lot of angry customers because the restaurant was out of nearly everything. There was a ton of complaints that day, which just seemed to aggravate the whole situation even further. The best part of all this is that Nancy's own daughter also worked at the restaurant and was able to see her own mom pretty much working like a slave all day. Seeing everything crash on her like that so bad was something she actually liked, since her daughter was actually nothing like her mom and also had a hard time dealing with her and was loving that she could finally laugh at her expense in this. Over the course of the next 3 days, Stacy called in all the staff into the office to hear about what else had happened and have a talk with her. Nancy and Nancy's sister were the last two called in together, and at the end of that, Nancy was actually fired for workplace bullying. Even if I wasn't in the front row seat at any time during the backlash on Nancy, I still enjoyed every bit of the story people told me. From that point on, for a good while, she had issues finding work since it's a small town and words can get by really fast on anything. Best part is when it came to apply for other jobs. I actually went back to the restaurant and asked Stacy if she wanted to be one of my references, and she said yes, even though my little stunt cost the company a fair amount of money. She said she actually enjoyed the overall boldness of it all. Every job I had after that, I was told Stacy was one of the best references I had and that she only said positive things. Well done, OP. Nancy deserved it. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.